2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to the NESN Soccer Show, a very exciting show for us. I'm Mark, here with Marcus as always, and we are going to deep dive into the Champions League. The semifinals are set. It'll be Liverpool versus Roma, Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid, but there's so much more to talk about than just that, because the quarterfinals were insane. There was 3 shocking developments and results in matches that took place. Marcus, after the quarterfinals finally settled and you had a chance to sit back and analyze and think about what took place, what did you have any sort of list of like what was most shocking to you?
Sure. You want me to rank them?
Yeah, let's rank them.
Roma beating Barca.
Okay. I like that you have that as number 1. That's your number 1?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Juventus almost beating Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And Buffon being sent off in his what we think is going to be his last Champions League game.
Yeah.
And Liverpool beating Man City. I didn't see any of those happening when the quarterfinals were set earlier this month. So.
Right.
And then what else happened?
Bayern beat Sevilla.
Yeah, no surprise there. Yeah, I knew there was a fourth tie. Yeah. Those 3, I just didn't see it coming.
Like if Liverpool had beaten Man City in advance, that would have been shocking enough. It's given how dominating Man City has been in the Premier League.
Right.
But to get 3 crazy occurrences like that, if you get that over the course of the entire knockout stage, you could be happy.
Well, that's the thing about the Champions League. It always gets good. Things hit the fan as, the deeper you go into the tournament. And then there's always, what I suspect is a little funny business that either the referees or UEFA engages in. And it's coming. You just don't know when, where, or how. But every year in the knockout rounds, something is a little fishy.
Well, as far as ranking the moments, Roma is definitely number 1 for me.
Why is that?
Well, I am a bit of a Roma supporter, but, the second leg rolled around, and I was watching, and I was, just watching to watch, because that's just what you do. But they score 1, I'm like, oh, that's nice, it's early. We're going to make a run at it. Mm-hmm. They score 2, PK, De Rossi gets a PK, and then Manolas, late in the game on a header, the Stadio Olimpico erupts. All of Rome erupts. It was insane. The soccer world went nuts. I didn't believe that it had happened. I was still thinking that Barcelona was going to somehow score in the last 2 minutes.
Right.
I was the idea that we were going to hold Messi and Suarez to without a goal and to only recording 2 goals of their own over the course of 2 legs is pretty shocking. And by the way, De Rossi and Manolas scored in both legs because they both had own goals in the first leg.
It's good fun fact.
And then, oh man, the next day I was really pulling for Juventus as a Serie A supporter. Mm-hmm. And to see Buffon get the red card there, I mean, what could he have possibly said to the referee to just get a red card straight away? And when you look at there's 7 Juventus players around the referee. Like, they all were probably saying a million different things.
I have an idea of what he might have said. You probably don't know it, though. There's an old Tupac song called Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah.
And the first couple bars are, the most incendiary thing you can say to somebody. You'll have to do the research, and I'm not going to say
I've heard the song, but I'm trying to remember what those lyrics are.
Well, after the show, you can go in it. And those of you who are listening, check it out. In my mind, that's what Buffon said to the referee.
Ah, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah. in my head, that's what he said to the referee, Michael Oliver.
Yeah, he's an English referee.
Yeah.
I thought it must have been something like accusing him of fixing the match.
Oh, I don't know. But afterwards, Buffon came out. He had a great quote.
Yeah.
Said he has something like a garbage bin where his heart should be. It was a great rant. That it's sad because Gigi Buffon has a special place in every soccer romantic's heart.
Yeah.
And for him to go out this way,
right,
and losing last year's Champions League. The last
360 not qualify for the World Cup.
the last 365 days for him have been pretty tough, actually.
Life is coming at him hard, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a good run, but man, between losing the Champions League final, a tournament he has never won, if I'm not mistaken, between losing the Champions League final last year, Italy not qualifying for the World Cup, and him crying on TV, and now this Champions League meltdown after the Real Madrid game. Yeah, got to feel a little sad for him.
Yeah.
But he's had a good run.
He's had a great run, and regardless of what he said and getting the red card, it didn't change the fact that a PK was coming for Real Madrid, and Ronaldo was stepping up, and he really buried it. Buffon wasn't stopping that. Nobody was stopping that.
Yeah.
And, I guess maybe if Buffon's in net, you might think Ronaldo would do something different, but I don't think so.
Ronaldo has scored more goals against Buffon than I think any other player. Yeah. There was never a chance of Ronaldo not scoring that.
Yeah. So it was really just the call, which I think at the end of the day, some people can say that it wasn't a PK, but a defender comes from behind and knocks down an attacking player in the box who has the ball kind of dangling right in front of him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can call that. It's okay to call that, regardless of it being the 93rd minute, Did you not like the call?
Well, in the moment, I was a little upset by it.
You don't want it to end like that.
No, I don't. And I was hoping for extra time because I was enjoying watching, and just enjoying what was happening in the drama. I thought he went down as easy as anybody could possibly go down. I don't blame him for doing that in that situation, but it's not like he was crashed into or bundled over.
And the defender did sort of get a leg on the ball, more or less.
Yeah, but I think I said this maybe on Facebook, but Mehdi Benatia, who Bayern got from Juventus, Juventus got from Bayern.
Yeah.
When they signed him, I was like, and this is after Leandro Bonucci left last summer, who was one of their stalwart defenders. I said, having him there is Juventus is gonna pay for that. And I didn't know when, and I didn't know where, and didn't know how, but there you go.
There it is.
Because Benatia, good defender, he's no Bonucci.
Yeah, and if the ref doesn't make that call, I think there's just
he doesn't leave Spain alive.
Yeah. And then Liverpool, Man City, just shocking simply because of how dominating Man City has been in the Premier League this year.
Yeah.
Although Liverpool did manage to beat Man City earlier in the season, one of the two matchups. The other matchup they lost 5-0. So I don't think anybody really saw this coming. But the big moment that everybody keeps talking about is the second goal. So Man City trails 3-0 going into the second leg.
Right.
They score a first goal. It's 3-1 on aggregate. And then they score a second right before halftime, but it's called back based on an offsides call, which television replays clearly show was incorrect.
Yeah.
The referee got it wrong.
Right.
Pep Guardiola kind of loses his mind and gets himself kicked out of the match.
What did he say?
It's two legends getting kicked out of matches in these Champions League quarterfinals. But yeah, what'd he say? And he doesn't get like a red card. He just is told to leave, right?
It's the equivalent of the red card. He sent him to the stands. But in your mind, what did he say? What does a coach have to say to get?
I see. For some reason, I think I want to think that both of them are, very aggressively saying that the referee is fixing the match, and that when you say that to a referee, it's kind of like a quick trigger.
You leave him no choice.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I just want to think that that's kind of like the quick trigger referee backlash to having somebody say that to you, because they must get called all sorts of names and derogatory terms.
Yes.
But if you question their integrity as the referee, that's when they are saying, no, you're gone.
Right. I mean, if you say it publicly, it's an automatic fine and a possible ban.
So my question is, if Pep Guardiola, even if it was still 3-1, and Pep Guardiola was still on the sidelines, because he's also a very active coach when the match is going on. He's always up talking to players,
I mean,
having
if they
guys
give
run
that
over.
goal and it's 3-2.
Oh, then I think they come back. Then I think it's end of story for Liverpool.
Well, that's one of the great what ifs.
Yeah.
Because Liverpool before January 1st, 2018, guaranteed they collapse and give up 2 more goals and go out of the Champions League.
Yeah.
After January 1st, you know, Virgil van Dijk arrived and Liverpool's defense has been a lot better. Now they're in the Champions League semifinals. They're firmly in the top 4.
Maybe
Who knows?
they wouldn't.
Yeah, would have been a good show.
I think when Pep Guardiola was taken out of the match, it kind of, you didn't think that there was no shot because of how well Man City has played this year, but it was kind of like, well, they haven't really had to do it without Pep Guardiola sitting there telling them what to do.
Yeah, but he has assistants.
Yeah.
Where are his assistants?
Apparently, he might get fined because an assistant ran back and forth to where Guardiola was sitting a couple times to like make adjustments. But
well,
who knows if that'll actually come out. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, a wildly entertaining quarterfinals.
Absolutely.
That will sort of be remembered, I think, for a long time.
I mean, I've been complaining for years about how boring and predictable the Champions League
we have
knockout rounds.
Some new faces in there.
Yeah.
It was better than it's better than having just Juventus and Barcelona and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich all playing again.
Right, as has been the case for the last 5 years or so.
But at the end of the day, I still think Bayern Munich is going to win it all because the team that doesn't have to go through any sort of miracles or controversy or craziness and just advances on through, seemingly under control.
Are we doing our predictions already?
Well, I'm just throwing my prediction out there that I just think there's a steadiness to Bayern Munich that is going to see them through.
I'm going to sit on mine until
you don't have to predict
until the proper moment in the show.
Yes, so let's move on then to the semifinals.
Yeah, we're going out of order. We're talking about winning the Champions League. We haven't talked about the semifinals.
The first one.
So Real Madrid is going to lose to Bayern Munich, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. They play April 25th at Bayern Munich, and then May 3rd back at the Bernabeu. Yeah, I think the sort of magic finally runs out for Ronaldo, and Bayern Munich systematically tear them apart.
It's gutsy.
Yeah. I'm just tired of Real Madrid winning everything.
I don't see them winning this year.
It does seem like
nobody wins 3 consecutive European Cups, especially in the Champions League era. Them doing back-to-backs last year
was insane.
Was incredible.
People do seem to be saying that the winner of Madrid and Bayern will be the winner.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to make that that prediction. But judging by what Real Madrid has done, the inconsistency they've shown in league play, I think they've fallen off a level. And I will say that Bayern Munich, because they've already got the league wrapped up and have just been getting better and better over the course of the season, I'm going to take Bayern Munich.
All right. Both on the same page. I like it.
Yeah. And, I think this will be the 25th time they've played each other in the Champions League, or in European play. So, it's like the oldest and most, I forget the word I'm thinking of, but like the most played matchup in European Cup Champions League history.
Right. Yeah, it's been a lot.
Yeah. So.
You sent those little fast facts to me.
Mm-hmm. Did you read them?
I did read them. Yeah, they've faced 24 times.
Okay, there we go.
And they've both won 11 times each. So.
That's only 22.
Right, 2 draws.
Oh, okay, and then penalty kicks, right. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be close. It'll be tight. I'm going to go with Bayern Munich because of the law of averages. Real Madrid can't win it every year.
No.
And if anybody can knock them off, I'd say it's their old enemy.
Right. And that brings us to Roma versus Liverpool. A couple of fairy tale stories.
Yes.
And at the middle of it is Mo Salah, who played for Roma last year, but went to Liverpool and has been
messy.
Yeah, he's been incredible. He's been the best player in Europe almost.
No, he hasn't.
Well, he's scoring a ton of goals, Marcus.
Yeah, but come on.
Yeah, you're right. He's not the best player in Europe. But all right, he's the best player in the Premier League, I'm going to say. And
he's having a great season.
Fantastic season. He's already scored, I think, more goals for Liverpool than he scored for Roma in about half the games.
Sounds about right.
It kind of makes me a little upset But I have to admit, I have a pretty big soft spot in my heart for Liverpool because I just attended Liverpool versus Crystal Palace about, it was almost 2 weeks ago now, but they won 2-1 at Crystal Palace. Mo Salah scored late. Liverpool fans were, as a soccer romantic, I fell in love with them. But it's hard to predict this one because it's kind of the high-octane offense of Liverpool versus a classic defending Italian team in Roma. And it's who's going to break down who. And if Roma does score, it's also interesting to note Liverpool has the most goals in the competition of remaining teams. Roma has the least goals in the competition of remaining teams. But if Roma does score, it'll be kind of some long ball to Edin Dzeko, and maybe he gets a penalty or a one-time off.
Or Nainggolan hits a screamer from 45 yards. I want to bring it back a second.
Okay.
Because Roma came to Boston last summer, and they played Juventus. And, the past couple days I've been looking back on it where nothing about the game stood out. But I remember afterwards in my post-game analysis was, Juventus is going to run away with Serie A, and we don't know what Roma's going to be because they have a new coach and a new sporting director, Monchi. Their coach, Eusebio Di Francesco. And, they were very much an unknown quantity. My point is, I did not see this coming. Did not see Roma anywhere near this phase of the competition. And they got out of a group. Who was in their group? Chelsea, Atletico Madrid. I think it was the group of death.
A lot of people wrote them off.
Yeah, I was one of them. So.
But I'm pretty sure they were the only club in the group to defeat Qarabag, who was kind of the odd man out in that group.
Yes.
They were the only club to beat them twice. Which was really what pushed them through.
Yeah.
And then people also, before they had to pull off the miracle against Barcelona, they also had to win a second home leg and advance on away goal aggregate versus Shakhtar Donetsk. So they've been kind of pulling miracles out of wherever the whole way along.
Quietly just working their way through the competition.
And now they're in the semifinals. And they got, they're not facing Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. They're facing Liverpool, which they could win, absolutely. And they could deservedly win and advance to a final.
They won't be afraid when they match up against Liverpool. That's for sure. They've been to Stamford Bridge. They've been to... Well, Atletico Madrid's new stadium isn't as much of a fortress as the last one, but they've been to the Camp Nou. They've been, Anfield is another venue that they go to.
One thing to keep in mind about Roma, however, is that they are still fighting for a top 4 spot in Serie A to qualify for Champions League next season.
Right.
And in the coming weeks, this weekend they play Lazio in the Roma Derby, and they're fighting with Lazio for that 4th spot. Then they also play Genoa and Chievo, and they are really still battling hard within Serie A to make sure that they're going to be in that top 4 for Champions League. And it's kind of going to be interesting to see what players are playing a lot of minutes in the matches leading up to the Liverpool Champions League match.
Yeah, just being in that, I don't know if you saw the dressing room celebrations after the win over Barcelona, but just being in this phase I think that'll give them enough of a boost to get them over the line and back into the Champions League because, if you're the semifinal, you got to be good enough to make it back the next year.
I sure hope so. As it stands right now, Lazio and Roma are tied technically in 3rd and 4th place at 60 points. Inter Milan has 59, and then AC Milan is behind them at 52. And then Juventus and Napoli are running away at the top and competing for the Scudetto. So
they'll make it.
They always keep you one eye looking back at Serie A standings.
Win over Lazio, everything will be fine.
Absolutely. Anything else stand out from these two matchups? They're both extremely intriguing. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich is kind of the Goliaths playing each other, while Roma and Liverpool are the Davids playing each other. And we'll see which David and which Goliath ends up against each other in the final.
Sure. I asked a friend of mine, a question that, he should have really been asking me, but I asked the question and then tried to answer it, which is what do we take from the fact that Roma and Liverpool are in the Champions League semifinal? Does that mean the big boys, and no disrespect to either of those clubs, are starting to slip, or is it something else? You want to take a crack at that before I drop some science?
Another one of the interesting notes in the box of fun facts that you sent me was that Real Madrid is playing a third straight major or league leader. So they played PSG, and then Juventus. And those are two quote-unquote Goliaths that they knocked off on their way to the semifinal.
Right. Either of those teams, had they been in the semifinal, I wouldn't have been surprised one bit.
But at the same time, Roma defeating Barcelona was a huge upset. But if you look at the match, they were very much in control and created more than just the 3 chances that they scored on. They had pressure on top of Barcelona basically from the get-go, and Barcelona had counters and had some pressure, but you're probably more used to them being threatening closer to the full 90 minutes than having a healthy number of chances as opposed to just always being down the throat of the other team.
Right.
So it's kind of...
So what does it mean that these two teams are in?
I would hope to say it's more this is going to be more the norm, and that you're not going to be able to predict... you'll be able to predict, say, half of the round of 16 teams that will be in there, but to predict the semifinals and have the same 2, 3, sometimes 4 teams in there every year, I really hope that will never be the case again.
For the last year or so, I've been talking about this flattening that's going on all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think this is a reflection of it, is that there are so many good players, good professional players, that teams with a little bit of money can get a few of them.
Yeah.
I think of a team like Liverpool. You get a Mo Salah and a Roberto Firmino and a Sadio Mane and a Virgil van Dijk. You get a few of these good players, you organize them, and you coach them up, and that they can take on anybody and they can win on their day with a little bit of luck and a little bit of pluck and a little bit of self-belief. Once a team like Barcelona loses a guy like Neymar, or a Real Madrid, their team is aging a bit, and they just become a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
These teams can come in and win, and it's kind of goes back to the Leicester City title, where you get a few good players and surround them or get a couple great players and surround them with some good players, and the mood is right, the confidence is up, and teams can go toe to toe with the big boys. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
In addition to that, it's also that maybe the advantages of a mega club, say in 2005, and just all the information that they have and the facilities that they have was a true advantage, even just as recently as 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now is something that's just a lot more common, that basically any club participating in a top league has top facilities that allow their players to be at their best every time that they play. Whereas maybe that wasn't really the case, pretty recently.
Yeah. And unless the biggest clubs are stockpiling all the best players, and not losing your Neymars to PSG, I have a feeling, we're going to see a little bit more variety going forward.
Well, thank goodness for foreign owners coming in and just bidding on all the best players and evening the playing field.
Yeah, well, maybe this is just a start. I'm not sure it's a wave yet or a trend, but this is what I suspect is happening.
Well, it's certainly going to be an entertaining semifinal on April 24th, 25th, and then second legs on May 2nd and 3rd. And don't forget the CONCACAF Champions League final, Toronto FC versus Guadalajara.
Yes.
That'll be April 17th and 25th. Haven't really watched much of that, but I've been keeping my eye on it.
Biggest games in MLS history.
They got to win. They got to win one of these things. And then next year it'll be an American team that wins, because this is technically a Canadian team. But
they got half the U.S. national team.
Right.
Yeah, biggest game in MLS history, biggest matchup in MLS history, and I'll tell you why. Liga MX is by far the biggest league in the United States.
Yeah.
By any metric, clicks, television rating, sponsorship, whatever. And a lot of fans ignore MLS. A lot of Liga MX fans just simply ignore MLS, write it off based off of where it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago especially. Just have no time for it, don't pay any attention to it. If an MLS team comes in and wins, and Toronto just beat Club America, if they beat Chivas in the final, which are the two giants of Mexican soccer, not necessarily the two best teams at this moment, but they are the biggest clubs in Mexico. If an MLS team comes in and knocks off those teams, wins the CONCACAF Champions League, fans of Liga MX in the United States will not be able to just simply ignore MLS and write it off. And I think that will do wonders for the league from a business sense, and that'll be one of those rising tide moments that'll lift all boats, I believe. So yeah, Toronto has to win. And by the way, this Toronto team might be one of the best teams in MLS history. So if they can't do it, I wouldn't expect another team to come along in the next 2-3 years and be as good as this Toronto team and do it.
Worth mentioning that Chivas also defeated New York Red Bulls and Seattle Sounders to reach the final. So they've beaten 2 MLS teams on their way.
Right.
So if they were to beat 3...
Who are nowhere near
certainly
the level of Toronto FC right now.
And I think lastly, before we wrap up, I would just like to go back to my romantic journey to Selhurst Park in South London as I saw Liverpool defeat Crystal Palace and share some quick audio from the match taken on my cell phone. Well, Marcus, what'd you think of that?
It's terrific.
Have you ever been to an EPL game?
I have not. No.
I think you would. Well, obviously you'd love it if you can ever get over there.
I've been to one game in Europe.
Yeah.
I went to De Kuip, which is Feyenoord Rotterdam Stadium, and there was some sort of fan strike going on, but I did see a young Uruguayan striker by the name of Luis Suarez tear Feyenoord apart. So yeah,
Dutch league.
This was the Dutch league. Yes, they had some sort of playoff system for the Europa leagues that they've long since scrapped. Or for Europa League and Champions League. So it was a playoff game. The fans were against it, and the 50,000 seat stadium probably had 15,000 people there.
Well, you got to get to a full stadium. I did pass Ajax Stadium as I was in Amsterdam, and
you made it back alive.
Yeah, I'm back alive and well, but it looked like a very fun stadium to attend a match at. They were out of town when I was there, though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then my last thing that I noticed, which isn't really much of a surprise, but Barcelona seems to be the most popular team amongst fans. At least the availability of gear and merchandise to buy related to Barcelona. And I was never in Spain. I was in England, and then I was in the Netherlands.
Interesting.
And I could have bought a scarf, a Messi jersey, a bobblehead, basically at every more or less convenience store or sporting store that I passed. So that was kind of just an interesting note. But I think that about does it for our time. We're going to be back to talk more Champions League, and there's really a lot of other soccer news going on that we just really don't have time to get to. Maybe we'll have some time next week.
Yeah, not
World
this
Cup
week.
news, whatever. And we'll be back. So thanks for joining us, and follow us on iTunes. you search NESN on iTunes and follow that channel. That will have our latest podcast. You can also catch us on nesn.com/podcasts and on youtube.com/NESN. Thank you.